Hi everyone, it's Debbie Corso from healingfrombpd.org and also dbtpath.net. So I took a survey on Facebook and you all, with an overwhelming landslide, voted for the topic of handling emotions when they just become too intense. So a little background on me in case you're new to the channel. I had borderline personality disorder to the max, pretty much met all of the criteria, have always been an emotionally sensitive person, even as a child, and my life was chaotic. It was a total mess. A lot of it had to do with the fact that I could not manage my emotions effectively. I would experience things like so intensely that it was ridiculous. And I will give you an example. So there would be times when I would go to the crisis clinic at the psychiatric clinic and need to talk to someone like urgently, because that's what it felt like. It was just too much to bear. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I didn't feel safe and I didn't feel comfortable, and it felt really scary to be me and to be in my head with how intense the emotions were. So I would show up more than once, actually, this happened, to the clinic, and I would get to the lobby and I would be crying and tears would be streaming down my face, and I would see the receptionist and I would say, I'm in crisis, I need to talk to someone. And I would feel kind of embarrassed because, I go there all the time, or I went there all the time at that point for different groups and appointments and everything, and pretty much was able to keep myself together in front of the receptionist most of the time. But during these times, it was just, I couldn't even hold back, even though embarrassment and, shame and all that may have been at play. So I would sit down, and as I was waiting for the counselor or the person to come out and speak to me, things would start to snowball, and it would get more and more and more intense, and I would feel it in my body, and I would feel like I just wanted to crawl out of my own skin, and I felt like I needed someone to save me, to help me, to fix everything, because I just couldn't handle how I felt. And I would start crying and sobbing and wailing, and I would literally fall out of the chair crying and be on the floor like drooling. I mean, I'm not kidding. The emotions just got so intense, and people would they'd be like looking, and then they would try not to look, because of the environment that you're in. And afterwards I would feel really embarrassed that it had gotten to that point. I've been in the ER for psychiatric reasons in the past, where I would be like rocking in the emergency room, and I was, it felt completely out of control. It felt like I was going crazy, and for other people on the outside, it was really brutal for them to know me in my normal state of mind. You know what I mean? Like going along life and pretty much being a sensitive person, but seeing that side was really, really difficult for the people that love me. And ultimately, it got to the point where people started giving me that tough love, where like, if you keep doing this to yourself, I'm out of your life. And that happened with more than one person, and it was really difficult. But it is what helped me to smarten up to and realize that I needed help, that possibly there was something I could do to help myself, or that I was doing to contribute to it being as bad as it was. So I allowed for the possibility of those things, and that's when things started to change for me. So I ended up in an intensive outpatient program where I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and I was told about DBT, and I got really excited because I had read Kara Van Gelder's book shortly after they told me this, The Buddha and the Borderline, and she's now a friend, and she's fantastic, and I felt so inspired by her ability to work through this stuff that I said, if she can do it, I can do it. And so I started learning DBT and going to the groups and going off for one-on-one counseling and doing all the homework and putting myself into it completely and totally, until the point where my life really began to change, and now I live and breathe this stuff and teach it online. Some of you are my students at DBT Path, so hello, shout out to my students. So if you're watching this video and you experience intense emotions and emotions that get so out of control that you feel like you're going crazy, obviously one video is not going to resolve that for you. You know that, and I know that. So we're just chipping at the tip of the iceberg here, and then, you know, it's going to take a lot more work, a lot more inner work, a lot of learning of skills, applying those skills to your life, a lot of trust in the process, that sort of thing, just like the route that I went through. And I think one of the most important things to remember right now to start out with is that compassion piece. Okay, one of the most important places to start, and it can be the most difficult if you're not used to loving yourself and taking care of yourself and validating and affirming and encouraging yourself, which a lot of people are not. And this is something I instill repeatedly in my students and in myself. I practice what I preach in this area. And it is so important that we have compassion for ourselves. So start out here. If you're watching this video, you can relate to having intense emotions that sometimes make you feel like you're going crazy. So you resonate to some extent with my story. You understand you are or have been where I have been, and you're looking to be, you know, in the future, you know, feeling more stable and feeling like you're managing your emotions and they're not overtaking you, right? So where do we start with this? We start with self-compassion, and we say, okay, I'm going to start by accepting reality just as it is. I may not like, approve, or agree with the fact that I have turned out to be an emotionally sensitive person, but I'm going to start at square one by accepting reality and saying, yes, I am a very emotionally sensitive person. Yes, I do experience emotions that tend to spiral out of control. I accept that that's where I'm at as a starting point. I mentioned this in class, I think last week in one of the classes, that the paradox of accepting reality is that we must accept reality in order to change something that we don't like. And a classic example is someone who realizes that they have a drug or alcohol problem. In order to go and seek the help that they need and get the support and get the help and get the detox, whatever it might be, that person first has to accept, I am an alcoholic or I am a drug addict in this moment. I don't like it, I don't agree with it, I don't want to be, but in order to get the help I need, I accept that that's where I'm at right now. It may not be where I'm at tomorrow or 10 years from now, but that's where I'm at right now. And it's the same thing with borderline personality disorder and emotion dysregulation. Right now, I accept, could be what you're telling yourself, that I have this diagnosis that I've been labeled with, borderline personality disorder, BPD, emotion dysregulation disorder, emotional intensity disorder, emotional sensitivity, whatever it may be. This is my starting point. I may not like it, I may not want to be this way. However, I know that this is the fact of the matter. This is where I'm at, and this is my starting point from where I need to, you know, leap off and go into where I want to be. The second piece that I think is really important, after you acknowledge that, extend yourself some self-compassion and say, okay, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm starting from. I understand that everything has a cause. There's a reason why I am the way I am. Probably dozens and dozens of reasons contributed into why you are the way you are. The second piece would be to begin to just notice your emotional experiences. So as you notice fear, anxiety, anger, depression, nervousness, sadness, euphoria, all of these things that we can experience, right? Begin to notice them and begin to attempt to consider that you are the observer of your emotions. So you're not your emotions. You may even find it helpful to rephrase some of your speech around your emotions. So instead of saying, I am angry, where you're identifying I am angry, I equals angry. No, you are not anger. You are the one who is experiencing and observing anger. So I am feeling angry, or anger is moving through me, or I'm experiencing anger right now. So this starts to help you discern and differentiate you from the emotion. So you are the observer and the experiencer of the emotion, but you are not your emotions. And this is a really powerful starting point to disconnecting from that, being wrapped up and identified in those intensive emotional states. Okay, and one more piece I'm going to give you today is start to consider when you're having really intense emotions, to do what you need to do to take care of yourself, to stay safe and not make any important decisions. This is so important. In DBT, we learn that as human beings, we have a few states of mind. Okay, so we have the rational mind or the reasonable mind, and then we have the emotional mind. And normally, when we have BPD or when we're emotionally sensitive, we're living in the two extremes. What we want to do is find that middle part right there, that wise mind. And the way that we do that, or the way that we begin to do that, is to slow it down. When we start to notice the emotions racing, the thoughts racing, the emotions escalating, I understand that, and I understand the intensity of that. It's important to come up with a plan, and let's see, like an emotional crisis plan that you come up with when you're feeling well, when you're having a good day, when you're feeling stable, when you're not feeling triggered, when you're feeling a bit more regulated, you've eaten well, you had some good sleep, you're not feeling emotionally out there and out of it and extremely, frazzled or anything. So it's on a day when you're feeling calm and healthy that you come up with a plan of the next time that I feel this emotion, fill in the blank, when I would normally turn to, and then fill in those different behaviors and, things that you have done that you're like, oh God, I regret that. I will instead, and maybe you have to start out really small with this, leave the room. Lie down for a few minutes, go for a walk, take a few deep cleansing breaths, lie down on the floor. But initially, while you're starting to work with this, with that surge, notice it, give yourself some compassion, accept that the emotion is coming up, step back for a minute, say, I am not the emotion. Isn't that interesting? That anxiety is soaring through me right now. I may know the reason, I may not know the reason. I know that if I sit with this and allow it to just run its course and just stay out of trouble, whether it means staying away from email because I might send something, or, texting or all that sort of stuff, until that emotion comes down. I'm not going to have an important conversation. I'm not going to make a very important decision. I'm not going to do anything like that because I am really, really, really charged up right now in emotion mind, and I need to nudge it over into wise mind. And part of the way I'll take care of myself is by slowing it down and not making any important choices right now. Allowing this to just ride its course, allowing the emotion to come down, because it always will. No emotion can stay at that height and that intensity forever. It will always come down. If you trust that, it's a heck of a lot easier to ride it out. So these are just a few tip of the iceberg examples of what we can do to start tapping into managing our intense emotions so that they are not managing us. Really important in our lives as people with BPD or who are intensely emotionally sensitive. If you want to learn more and study with me and work directly with me, and we can really dig into these issues and figure out how they specifically apply to you and what you can do in your own life, in your own circumstances that you're facing, because it's different for everyone. Come on over to dbtpath.net. I have classes starting in the next couple of weeks. They're online in real time. I'm talking to you, you're asking questions, and we're learning these skills in an international global community online. So I invite you to come and register. Emotion regulation is coming up, so I know that for a fact. It just looked at the schedule and I'm like, yes, okay, this is in perfect timing with the video that they wanted. So, okay, hope to see you over there. Please let me know how this is going for you. You can comment either below this video on YouTube or on the blog at healingfrombpd.org. Let me know if any of this resonated with you, if you're feeling encouraged, if it's helped you, and if so, would you also please go ahead and give me the thumbs up on this video on YouTube, and even subscribe if you find this type of thing helpful, because this is typically what I do, is teach and encourage on this channel about overcoming BPD using dialectical behavior therapy. So hope you're having a great day so far. If not, I hope it gets better for you. Remember, no emotion can stay at that high intensity forever. You will survive it. You will get through it. You will endure. You've made it this far and you're going to make it again. I know it's very tiring, it's very upsetting. If you start to realize that this is an ongoing thing for you and you really want to start working on it, using these skills, learning these skills, applying them in your life, talking in a group format can be immensely helpful in your healing process, as it was for me. So I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much. Thank you for voting on Facebook and Twitter, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye for now.